her if you like it, and then I'll wait for the responses. Okay, now go to whoever needs you in the background. Okay, I'll email you today, okay, babe? Bye, girl. Hello. All right. Give me 2 seconds here. We are just getting ready, and then we're going to go live. All right. So we are getting ready. Whoop, whoop. All right. I'm just doing all my accountability check-ins here. Okay. I think we're good. We're going to get rolling in 2 seconds here. So we have our NLP coaching, which is behind every behavior is a positive intention. So we're going to get rolling in just a second here. I just logged in, so we're just getting it going here. So again, I'm wearing like massive florals today. I love it. All right, I hope everybody's getting ready. We are literally going to be doing some NLP coaching from now, probably for the month of September. I'm going to be rolling into NLP coaching. So for those of you who know me, you know me as a high-end business coach, and I push a lot of businesses to the next level. But also what you don't know is that I have a background. I'm an NLP practitioner. So I absolutely love NLP. I study NLP. It's something that I'm very, very passionate about, and I bring it into coaching. What we're going to talk about today is really one of my favorite topics. So we're going to get rolling into this, okay? And what it is behind every behavior is a positive intention. And that's one of the things that I look at is that the belief in this can be mind-blowing. And I'm just going to, I've got my notes here. The belief in this can be mind-blowing. If you really believe that, it means that we choose to believe that behind every action, there's a positive intention towards us. Now, those of you who know me, it's really kind of funny because I'm going to throw in some examples that are kind of personal. And if you're watching this and you were one of those people, holy shit, brace yourself because I might talk about you. No, I'm kidding. But the thing is, well, I'm not really kidding. But here's the thing, is that if you choose to believe that every action has a positive intention towards us, it's a totally different way of thinking. So a lot of people come to me and they're just like, how do you have so much energy? How are you so positive? I'm not always positive, okay? I'm not always positive. I got a lot of, I had a lot of stuff happen in the last 2 to 3 weeks. And you know what? There was a time period where I was like, I had to pull out of the Berlin Marathon because somebody stepped on the top of my foot by accident with stilettos and broke a little bone on top. And it's complete pain when I run all over the right-hand side of my body. So I can't do the Berlin Marathon, which I have trained legitimately running 8 months nonstop focused on running. So it was a big crusher. So I'm going to be negative. All right. But how I choose to believe that it wasn't the intention of the person to actually hurt me, that's a different thing. But anyway, so you're going to hear a few of the examples that I like to use, but this is going to be a very powerful coaching session diving into it for you guys, okay? So again, the key to remember, though, of what I just said, which is that we choose to believe that every action is a positive intention towards us, is it doesn't have to be true. Okay, so a lot of you are like, well, what if I'm dealing with somebody who, again, maybe their intention wasn't that. Maybe they're just a really mean person. But it's the key to remember, though, is it doesn't have to be true for us to believe it. The benefit comes from believing that it's actually true. So believing in this gives you the choice in how you respond. See, that's where the power comes in. Without this belief, then you know what? I'm more likely to become either a submissive person or an aggressive in my responses. I might, bark back. I might start to lose self-esteem and confidence because I have a certain perception of how they are with me. And here's a good example of this, okay? So I went to Mont Tremblant, I think it was a week or 2 ago, whatever, to watch the Ironman. I had 40-something people that I was watching, and you know what? I love giving support. And I also just wanted in my head to know, do I really want to do this race a year from now? It's a big decision. And the answer is no. Anyway, so I was like, whatever. I had way too much fun that day. But anyway, the point is somebody made a comment to me, somebody that I really like. And this person said to me, they were going to be there. And the person said, I would love to hang out with you, but you know what? You're, the person said, you're so loud and you're so like, wow, and they said, I'm sure we'll hear you, halfway down the course. And I was kind of like, that's a pretty shitty thing to say, right? And I'm like, what is that? So here's what I mean by that. If I choose to think of it as a way that somebody was talking to me, right? If I choose to believe that person said something deliberately to hurt me, can you imagine what my self-esteem would feel like? can you imagine the type of aggressive response I might say to that person? Like, what the F? What is that? That's not very nice. Can you believe how submissive I could become? I could go into a shell. I could do whatever, right? And that's a big thing is that you might start to lose self-esteem if that's how you believe if you believe that person deliberately tried to say something to intentionally hurt you, then you know what? The confidence in how you feel about things, sorry, I'm just looking at this. Oh, okay, sorry, I saw a message from my assistant. You might look at it and say, you know what, my self-esteem, my confidence level, it might all be hurt by something like this. So because of the way that I feel how they respond to me. So what I did is that I'll teach you how I do this, but I choose to believe that there's a positive intention towards me in the following kinds of circumstances I'll show you in a second. But when that person said that, I had to really see what is the positive intention that person meant. And what that just means is that my method of communicating, or who I am, which is like loud and cheery and all that kind of stuff, it may need to be modified if I want to hang out with those people, right? In essence, I don't, because I'm like wild and crazy, and everybody knows that about me. So I don't want to change. I love life. I wake up, I feel good, I vibe good. If that's not good for somebody else, I'm not going to think that person, for being honest with me and saying, hey, listen, we can hear you halfway down the course, kind of thing like that. That's not their style. But that's okay. If I want a different reaction from that person, I would have to see it in a different way. But the reality is that I choose to believe that there was a positive intention there of that person saying, hey, we love you, we love your energy, but if you want to hang out with us, like, that's got to be toned down. That's the positive thing. That's not negative. I'm seeing that the internet is a little wonky here, so I do apologize in advance. Maybe Facebook heard me swear again, which is really hard, right? So here's the thing. If you choose to believe that there's a positive intention towards you, then you know what, in different circumstances, and what happens in NLP is you can transform the way you respond to situations and how you process it. The worst thing to do is think that the intention is negative, even if it is by that person. How you believe is what's the most important thing. I want you to be really clear on that. It can be a really mean comment that person made, but I choose to believe it not to be. Okay, so if your boss critiques you, for example, of incompetence, you could choose to believe that the positive intention towards you is to provide you with the opportunity to learn to stay calm and confident when you face aggression. That's how you see something there different. If a colleague misunderstands or a friend misunderstands what you said to them, the positive intention might be to teach you how you can become more flexible with your communication to appeal to others. It's kind of the example I just used. Now, if your business crashes and it takes a nosedive, okay, what's the positive intention there? Well, the positive intention is for you to make a new start and learn how to pick things up when they go wrong. How you choose to see things is not like the universe, you know, yeah, when I just had how do you see, no offense, but how do you see 8 months of working my ass off, literally working so hard, learning how to run better, learning to dial it in, learning to get faster, only to have a random incident where somebody steps on my foot, total bad luck, but steps on my foot, crushes it, boom, now I have to defer. Okay, so how do you look at that positive? Well, you look at it as a positive intention. No ill will there. And what did I learn? Well, I learned that, you know what? Hard work, you don't give up, you don't quit. That's what you learn, okay? So you want to generate your own ideas of what the positive intention really is, and then that'll make sense of the behavior to you. So if I want to choose to believe, like I said, when somebody made the comment and said, hey, you're super loud and blah, 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 you know, if I could see that as negative, sure, but the positive intention is I can make sense of the behavior. I know that they like me. I know that they want to hang out with me. It's just, you know what? They vibe a way lower kilter than I do. So it's just not the right, you know, I have to modify. So when you find a positive intention that works for you, you'll find the behavior takes a whole new meaning on. And what that means is you freed yourself from what we refer to as a compulsive response. And compulsive responses is generally when we go into negative or aggressive stuff. Now, the meaning of the communication is the effect. And what do I mean by that? Well, here's the thing. Have you ever experienced a moment of frustration when you carefully explain something to someone and they totally misunderstand you? Or you give feedback to somebody that is not meant to be malicious or anything like that, and they took it totally wrong way, and then they end up getting angry, okay? Or have you ever done something to someone and, you know, they said, or you did something naturally that you didn't even, oh shit, sorry, the internet's so shitty. Have you ever done something that you were just doing naturally and somebody came to you later and said, hey, you really inspired me? How did that make you feel? Okay, and how, you know what? If a child won't behave and you're in a store, how's that a statement about your ability as a parent? Very interesting questions, right? So here's the thing. You are part of the system. That's what I'm trying to say here, okay? Sorry, I'm just going to take that down. You are part of the system. Something you do is allowing the encouraged response that you receive, okay? So the power is in the way of thinking is that you take responsibility for the responses that you receive. That's what I'm trying to NLP you on right now. You can find new ways of communicating until you get the right responses that you want. But when you get a response that you don't particularly love, seeing where you held a role in that is where NLP comes in. That's how you understand it. It's to believe that the meaning of the communication is the effect. And what that means is if you explain a concept to somebody and they don't understand it, okay, and it measures a lack of flexibility in the way you just explain things. If you are stuck in your way and you're like, no, I said it this way, that shows that you're not flexible in your communication. That's your role. If you give feedback and it's taken wrong, it's a result of how you gave feedback to that specific individual. And if you want a different answer, you've got to modify it. So people who have beliefs that are more likely to experience a problem and see a problem as an opportunity to change themselves, that's power. That is massive power in growth. They take responsibility, these people, for their actions, and they take the feedback. And they don't consider others as the source of the problem. They seek to develop themselves in their flexibility for new choices so that they can elect a new response. That's where the key thing is, okay? So there's a solution, as we say, to every problem. So what do you do when something goes wrong? Do you sulk? Do you take a hissy fit? Do you take out your frustration on others? Are you known as Grumpy Bear? You know, we have somebody that we swim with that, you know what, Lord knows, when they have a bad day, the whole freaking world knows about it, right? So it's like, okay, so how do you respond to that? So imagine what it would be like if you had a belief that you could find the solution to every problem that you encounter. That's how I live. Every single problem is a solution, okay? I can solve it, no problem, and that's how I live. So you would spend less time, as I do, worrying about how you're going to get on with your life. You would build massive confidence. If you see every problem as a solution that you can find a solution to, you would have huge confidence, but you also hone in on a creative part of you, okay? And many people, and this is something that I always talk about, guys, is that many people give up, okay? When they encounter a difficulty of some sort, or they encounter difficult people, or they encounter difficult circumstances, or they're in a rut, right? When they encounter something difficult, they give up. That's what most people do. And we see that in NLP coaching all the time. But when you see everything as a challenge, as having a solution, that's where it becomes empowering. Okay? Those are the people who don't get stuck. Those are the people who have shitty things happen. You know, when I lost my mom, okay, you want to find positive in that? Very difficult to do. Very difficult. But it was a problem I had to find a solution for. You know what? Simple as that. When you read those stories about people who get diagnosed with terminal cancer, and yet somehow they're positive and outgoing and they're changing the world, because everything that they encounter, they have a belief system that says, I'm going to conquer it. I'm going to conquer it. Sometimes they don't have a choice but to believe in that system, and that's when they learn it. But most of the time, it's like, it's so easy. When somebody is giving you something that you don't love, or their communication, or whatever the case is, you have to choose to believe that there's a problem that can be solved. Instead of canceling somebody out because, let's say you don't like your boss, okay? That just drives me nuts. Instead of just saying, well, I don't like the person, I'm just going to quit. You're making them the problem. You're not learning anything from it. You're not empowering yourself. You're not flexible in your communication. You're not growing mentally. You're just literally just giving up and making it about somebody else. So how is that growth on your part? How is that flexibility on your part? You're never going to run into a difficult person again? Come on. So you know what? You all have to work on that. You have to see your role in it. Okay, so that individual would have to see their role in it first, saying, look, I got a person here who is very sensitive. You know, and when I said that, I get how I became this person, and I didn't think I was being insensitive, but this is what happened. So now I'm going to see my role in it. I'm going to see this as a positive outcome, a positive problem that I can solve, and I'm going to really work on my communication with this person, and I'm going to pour into them, okay, as far as that goes. Now, some people are just generally dicks in this world, no offense, but they are, and that's just how they are. And maybe that's not the right NLP term to use, but that is the honest truth. And I know some of you are thinking about that. If you run into a client that is always hurtful and mean to you, I get that. You may never want to work with that person again, and I'm not saying you should, but you have to see your role in it, and you also have to see and say, I choose to believe that this person had no ill will behind what they were doing. I believe that this is just how they communicate based on how I'm communicating with them. So I need to change and modify it. So if you have that client or that friend who always has to be right, and anytime you try to correct them on it, you know what? They bark out, they lash out. That's the tool that they have. See, they don't see how they can be flexible in their communication. They're not trying to hurt you. They're not trying to do that. That's the only tool that they had in their reservoir bucket that they pulled out, because that's what they know how to do. When they get frustrated, they see everybody else as the problem. So the only thing that you can do is say, you know what, the person has no ill will. They just barked at me because, you know what, that's how they communicate. That's how, when things don't go their way, this is what happens. They're not trying to intentionally be negative to me. They're not trying to intentionally, I'm sure they actually realize that they're not, they're not appropriate with their behavior, but how did I communicate with them? Because my way of communicating needs to be flexible. And I choose that it's a problem, I'm going to solve it, but I'm also going to choose that, you know what, there is positive intention here. There's always positive intention. That person is challenging. This is who they are. They're hypersensitive. I need to be more sensitive to people who are sensitive. That's the positive intention that I'm referring about. I don't get stuck in the bullshit or the drama. I just get moved on from it, and I learn, what can I do? So seeing everything challenging as having a solution is the highest level of power you could ever have. Now, here's a little final part here that I want to kind of go over with you. We all have the resources that we need, okay, inside of us. We all do. You don't need some big schmancy book, okay? Which is why we need to keep looking within ourselves. So here's an interesting point. Many of us have untapped reserves, skills, attitudes. We just haven't learned how to use them yet. But we all have them. We just haven't learned how to use them yet. It doesn't matter your age, your demographics, what you have, what you don't have. This is insanely common. Most of the time we don't ever discover them, because guess what? We live in this fear of sounding arrogant or being arrogant. Many times I'm told, you know what, I had somebody say, oh, Mike, you're always bragging. And I'm like, no, I'm not actually always bragging. The thing is I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid that I'm going to seem arrogant. I'm just excellent at what I do, because I've discovered that I have those tools to do. There's a great Nelson Mandela quoted a poem by Mary-Anne Williamson, and it says, who are we to play small? And actually, many of us do. Many of us do. It's my biggest issue in this lifetime for anybody. I don't care if you're a woman, man, young, old, don't care. But as the poem said, is that many of us play small. You know, who are we to play small? Okay? And we shouldn't. Just because you're afraid to play bigger, or you're afraid to see things positively, and it's not arrogance. You know, and a lot of people ask me, they're just like, are you on drugs? Are you like, what are you? You know, you're always happy, you're always positive. I'm like, yeah, it's not arrogance, it's not fictitious, it's none of that. I see every problem as having a solution. There's nothing I can't solve. Something gets thrown at me, I'm jacked up about it. Somebody says something shitty to me, guess what? I see the positive in it. Why? Because I can change. I can be a different person with that type of individual. I see the challenge. If somebody comes in and says, hey, yeah, you were super loud, like they said, no problem. You know what? What did I learn about that? I'm not necessarily going to change who I am. I just think the positive intention exists because I choose to believe that people are good. I choose to believe that nobody really wants to hurt you. Okay? I had really bad news about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Like really bad news. And sometimes my initial reaction is, holy shit, I just want to it was such bad news. But anyway, I'm not going to share it because it's just really bad news and it's still pending. So I got to really see this through. But I choose to see the positive intention behind it. I really choose to see it. And I see that the lesson that I'm learning in it is work harder. You know what? Secure, I can't give out too much, but work harder, do some things different. And guess what? It's teaching me the real lesson of perseverance. The real lesson in there is when it gets, I'm learning from this experience that this is all part of the process of my growth. I see the positive intention is there. But here's the thing. We were born fearless, okay? And en route somewhere in our lives, we have this massive talent that works for us differently. So I have talent in one thing, you might be talented in another thing, blah, 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 but they work differently. And sometimes that talent comes up only for a brief little moment in our life, but it's there in our memory banks, okay? And it's waiting for us to use it again. It's impossible that it's not there. So if you believe that you have all the resources inside of you, ask yourself next time, when did I use this resource last? And wouldn't it would be great to be using right now? And the more we can pull from our memory, the better it is. And the person with the greatest flexibility of their behavior has always the greatest influence on people. It's the flexibility in our thinking and our behavior that we have a choice. How we react is our choice. If one choice doesn't work, we can try another one until we find the one that does actually work. And that's a big thing. So think about an athlete for a second. They train regularly and repeatedly, and that's something that they always do to get better at what they do. So you can train your mind to think and believe certain ways if you practice enough. And that's the key point here. Going back to the beginning for a second is that one of the most important things to remember is that, again, how you choose to believe, whether or not it's true or not, is irrelevant. Doesn't matter. I can't control somebody else. I can't dumpster dive into their brain. I don't want to dumpster dive into other people's brains. I do that enough for a living. But one of the most important things is that how I choose to believe that somebody is thinking about me, how I choose to believe that somebody says something about me, I choose it all the time, okay? And I always choose that there's a positive intention. So I laugh because there's somebody who, I can't stop laughing. But anyway, there's somebody that I think hates my guts, like really hates my guts. And I see this person a lot. And I'm always like, you know what? Like, it's awkward. It's just awkward because I can feel that there's like something there that maybe this person just like is like, this girl is just too much for me. So anyway, so then what's the positive outcome? If you always say hi to somebody and they pretty much are like, you're an asshole. I mean, you kind of feel that way, right? Like, where's the positive intention there? So you know what the positive intention is that I realize that the person, it's my ability and my flexibility and my behavior is that, you know what, this person may just be very uncomfortable with this type of energy that I bring to the table, or this person may be a lot more reserved in their communication style than I am. So there is no ill intention with that person. Maybe the person does hate my guts. Do I care? I don't really care. I choose to believe that there's a positive intention there. I choose to believe that the person is like, wow, like that is a lot of energy wrapped up in this ball. And you know what? And that person is just a little bit nervous to be around me, or that person just really does not like people like me in their circle. And it has nothing to do with me. It just means if I want a different reaction from this individual, go back to what we just coached on. If I want a different reaction from that individual, I have to change my communication. And there's the positive intention. Am I willing to change my communication to the point where this person does understand? Because I'm sure this person is really nice and I'm really nice. We just vibe a very different energy level. And if this person won't change it, I can change it if I want to elicit a different response. Maybe I don't want to elicit a different response. Maybe I just don't care. But at the end of the day, the problem would be is if I believe that that person really didn't like me. Okay? If I actually believe that the intention was ill, and if I believe all that, then you know what? The amount of confidence that's going to drop, the self-esteem, maybe it'll bring up aggressive responses. Maybe it'll bring up negative chatter, that kind of thing. So what I'm always trying to do, and I'm not perfect, by all means, I'm still a work in progress myself. But what I always look at is I look at, how I choose to believe something and how I choose to see it and how I choose to always know that the intention is positive. Nobody walks around this world, and if they do, that's something, again, that you can't control. But nobody walks around this world, hurting people on purpose. That's just wrong. You know what? So don't always go to that behavior. Kind of choose to see the positive intention behind everything, and then look at what you can pull out of your reservoir tool to say, if I want a different response from this individual, what do I need to grow, and where's the positive response that I could do? And the win is spectacular. It's spectacular. And again, it's a lot, I want you guys to feel very positive and empowered by that. And so again, I'm very tough on my coaching clients. And so when I'm tough on them, they know that it's coming from a positive place. And the positive intention behind the way I coach and my style, to somebody who doesn't know me, might be like, holy shit, she's like really aggressive and she's really like pushes the goal. No, the actual positive intention is that if you want to work with me, you'll learn to understand that I want the best for my clients. I want them to have lives that they literally could not even have if we didn't have each other in each other's lives. And it works. So that's the positive intention behind it, is that I push so that, you know what, it's my way of getting somebody to the next level. So if somebody wants to communicate with me differently, we can work on that, but the positive intention's there, you know, and sometimes we do have that communication, and you know what, we're all willing to change, but that's where positive intention comes in, okay? Now, same thing, you know, if somebody cuts me off, this is, you know, my final example. I like to drive fast. No, but somebody, I don't know if you've ever had this, but I get so many people giving me the bird, the finger, when I'm driving. I don't know what it is. Anyway, so long story short, if somebody gives you the finger when you're driving, you know, what's the positive intention behind that? Well, the positive intention is did I honk the horn? Did I maybe I was too close to them and I got it and I invaded, and maybe they got it, you know, a little nervous and they got angry, or maybe they're just in a rush to go somewhere and they're like, you know what, their wife pissed them off and they look in the rearview mirror and I look like the wife. I don't know. It could be many different things, but I choose that the positive intention behind giving me the finger is to let me know that I'm doing something in my actions that pissed off that person to the point where they gave me the finger. Most of the time, it's usually because I honked the horn or I drove a little too close, whatever. But most of the time, it's usually something like that where I can see that the positive response to that is, okay, girl, maybe you need to just hold back a little bit, take the foot off the pedal, and just kind of take a breather, right? So there's always a positive intention. But you don't let the person who gave you the finger give it back to them, then tailgate them, and then chase them. That's not seeing my role in a situation. That's what I'm trying to show you guys. So join us next week. Next week, we're actually off. The week after, we're back in. We're going to do some NLP coaching all of September. Hope you enjoyed it.